think
Is
it's
it your
recording.
little
Yeah,
red light
it's
on?
recording up the top. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Hello, it's Nadine here, and I'm here with this week's episode of Life, Health, and the Universe. And I'm joined today by Brett Baughman. Brett, I have this thing that I do every time I do a podcast with a guest. I should have confirmed how to pronounce your surname. I'm hoping I got it right. Bowman,
Yep.
right?
It's
Cool.
it's bomb and it's light, but it sounds
Bowman.
great. Everybody
Okay.
you've got a nice accent, so it works perfectly. Sounds
Okay,
elegant.
so apologies for not checking that first.
No
So Brett,
problem.
thank you for joining me. It's great to have you here. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. Let me
Pleasure.
do a quick intro. So you're a life and business coach and you are from Las Vegas.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, you've been voted. Let's just get into the accolades. Voted top coach of 2023 by Apple News. So congratulations. That's a recent one. You're a best-selling author of Strategies for Success, which I believe you co-wrote with Jack Canfield.
Yeah, I had a
Yeah.
couple people, Jeff Canfield, Marie Diamond, some good
Okay,
people there.
great.
Yeah.
You're the founder of Action Mastery Retreats, and your expertise is peak performance. I'm not going to say any more than that. I'm going to hand over to you, and then I've got a page full of different things that we could talk about. So I'm really looking forward to our conversation and grateful to have you here.
Thank you so
Over to
much, Nadine.
you.
Thank you. Real pleasure. Yeah, thank you. It's like I would say my main thing in, kind of doing these, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. Congratulations on all your success and love what you're doing. And, for me, my thing is doing this is my passion in life is making a greater positive impact in my life and the world around me. And, a lot of times people don't necessarily understand when you say peak performance. That's really kind of like what my focus and intention is with my clients. I'm a coach. But the thing is I want to help people figure out what their peak is. What are you at your best, right? Because we can do therapy, we can do coaching. There's a lot of ways to help. But what my passion is helping other people figure out what's your ideal life. My program is called the Ideal You. That's the principle of which I work within. And so in each area of life, from career to relationships, to health and fitness, to personal growth, to spirituality and hobbies, what would be an ideal life for you? How do you get there? So you can recognize and measure your success. Like, a lot of times most people tell me they're unfulfilled in their life. I'm like, well, how would you be fulfilled? What would measure success for you? What do you need to do to see better results, to be happy, to be inspired, to wake up in the morning excited by your life? And most people don't know. And so I help them determine what that path is, to get that map, that vision in place. And so there's the vision, where you want to go and what you want to be ultimately, the ideal. And then there's also how you show up each day, which is your performance, showing up as the best version of yourself. And so when you put those together, you can perform at your peak.
Okay, you've just answered like so many of my questions. We
Awesome.
can go deeper.
Yeah,
I,
absolutely.
I guess yeah. Let's start with that peak performance because I think, and you've touched on it in your intro, but I think that we have this perception peak performance is
Mhm.
like something that we only, well, firstly, probably only need to have if we're an athlete, a business
Yeah,
person,
Olympics.
a
Yeah,
professional of some sort.
yeah,
But what I get from you is that it's like, how do you live your best life, right?
exactly.
And
Exactly. It's
and
not really about being like like a superstar athlete. It's about what's your best? What is
mm,
your best? What makes you say like, oh my gosh, I'm at my peak. I'm the best version of me right now, or I'm working towards that best. So there's like a goal line, right?
how much of that is associated with external stuff, like having a good job, um, owning a
Mm.
house, having a car, or being able to
Yeah.
have a certain amount of money in the bank, whatever it is, compared to the internal? Because I feel like just from looking at your website and getting a bit of a sense of what you do, um, there's a lot of that kind of more who we are
Yeah.
as human beings.
Yes.
Um, ha- so like how much is kind of like the performance of those external things,
Hmm.
and how much is it getting back to who you truly are?
That's a great question, Nadine. Well, I think that The challenge is when people come to me, unfortunately, the scales are tipped, in my opinion, in the wrong direction, which we usually prove through our process and work together. So most people come to me and they will say, I want X amount of money in the bank. I want to scale my company X amount of times. I want to buy this car. I want to have this house. And what we realize is, in my opinion, absolutely none of it has to do with the external. It has to do with the internal. I have so many clients who work with me who are multi-millionaires, making 5, 10, 15, $20 million a year. They've got huge companies, thousands of employees, and they're absolutely unfulfilled and do not like their life one bit. And what they realize very quickly is that, you can make $1 billion this year and absolutely hate yourself and have the worst year of your life. It has nothing to do with the external. What it has to do with is connecting to the internal self, connecting with what fulfills me. My biggest passion and intention with my work right now is impact. That's what I always say, making the greatest positive impact in my life and the world around me, and helping others to do that. And what that means, if you really distill it down, is what inspires you every day to continue on your journey? What fulfills you on your journey? And the fulfillment, to break that down, is to say, what do you feel gives you a purpose? Why are you here? The things you're doing, what are you doing them for? And what is that creating as a legacy? What is that creating as an impact, as a path for yourself? And so when you have that, you realize too, then it's not about the stress of, I've got to run a company. I got to be an entrepreneur. I've got to be on the Fortune 50 list. I've got to be a multi-millionaire. It's like, it's none of that. It's like, what am I doing that matters to me, to where I feel like I'm proud of who I am, and I'm taking actions that have integrity and provide a value to society. You could be helping someone in your neighborhood. It could be touching one person. There could be a child or a family or someone that needs help, and you change that person's life by giving them hope. That's extraordinary, and that's a measure of fulfillment and success to me. And so it's helping people tap into that and understand that you're so much closer to being successful than you think. I always say, extraordinary is only a thought away. And we think extraordinary is unattainable. Peak performance is unattainable, and it is not. It is a shift in your mindset, and then having your life fall into line with those mindsets.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because there is so much focus, and I do feel like it's shifting, and I want to talk about that shift a little bit later. But there's so much focus on the external, isn't there? And that success is associated with that we can actually forget about those the people around us that are closest to us, and that actually being successful is like raising, if we've got children, raising children that are, good humans, and
Yes.
taking care of those that are closest to us, and those small acts of kindness can be the things that actually can have impact, as you said, on yourself and on others, but that
So
can have
rewarding,
that,
right?
yeah, it
So
can be really rewarding, and it has that knock-on effect, right?
Yeah.
But the focus has really been drawn away from that, and I feel like it's coming back.
Yeah, we're turning the
Yeah. Before we go any further, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your journey to where you are now? And like, how did you get into this, and has it evolved?
Yeah, so I've been doing this 24 years now, so
Wow.
it's
Yeah.
evolved greatly
Yeah.
in the way we communicate,
Mhm.
in my approach to what I do, and also how I choose my clients. When I
Mm.
started, as most people, you just want to get work, right? You want to do a good job and you want to have business. And now I'm blessed to be in a place where I can pick and choose my clients. And when I work with clients, I only work with people that, number one, they have to inspire me. Like, what they're working on has to inspire me. I spoke to someone recently that had gone through some traumatic things in their life, had, some things that were horrific to most people, like really serious trauma, to where they didn't even want to be there, been victimized, and didn't even want to be a part of society. So helping this person get a voice and become an advocate for other people, that's an amazing inspiration for me, to help somebody have that transformation and that growth process. Also working with people who have companies and services where they are impacting a lot of people, helping people, whether they design something or have a nonprofit where it touches people, make a product that helps people see or helps people with their health. Things are where I can touch one to touch many, right? So that's been a big shift now that I'm in a place. I'm very blessed. This is my calling. I love what I do. So I'm blessed to be able to be in that space. But my journey started out, as a kid. First of all, I'm so grateful to God. I always say that Talent is equally distributed, but opportunity is not. We're not all born in the same place with the same resources or
Mm.
with a family or things that can help us. I've been blessed to have a very healthy, wonderful life with people who love and support me and gave me a voice. So I feel that it's not only my calling, but I think it's my duty to help give that and impart that to other people, that wisdom and that opportunity. And so my whole life, I've been able to explore. I started out in my young life as like in music and entertainer. I did films, I did modeling, did TV, played drums, did a lot of different kind of things like that. Theater, I owned restaurants. But I went through this whole path, and at one point I thought you keep changing and you're moving through your life, and you wonder, where am I going? What do I want to do? And I thought I wanted to be an entertainer, and I learned in my late teens, early 20s that that was a great training ground for who I am now. Really, everything that I liked was I was learning how to be confident, how to research, how to be out there, how to understand other people's lives. I had so many lives of my own that I can understand. I've ran mortgage companies, insurance companies, photography companies, just everything you can imagine. And before I was like, why am I doing all this? And now I'm like, oh, because I've had an experience of understanding what people do and what they go through. And for me, it's always really been about researching the human condition,
Mm.
understanding who people are. Doesn't matter how big the companies I've ran or I've worked with, it's always about who is the person that's there. Why are you showing up to work each day? What are you paying your mother's hospital bills? Do you have a sick child? Are you trying to pay off a home or buy a home? And so I would connect with the individual. And my journey made me realize that I was getting a lot of practice and a lot of like a PhD in human condition. And so in my early 20s, I met a great mentor. Her name is Shelley Campbell. And excuse me, she was a coach. And when I heard her speak at an event, she just touched me. And I went and spoke to her, and she said, you are a coach. You're a coach at heart. You should, follow this path. I had been consulting and doing sales trainings and leadership and building call centers and managing companies, all similar to what I'm doing, but without understanding where it was going, just doing the work and getting results. And then I was like, oh, I understand now. Now I can forge my path. And for me, like I said, I like to help people discover their passion in life and help them figure out their purpose. So that way they can get on a path to living their destiny, which is fulfillment and inspiration and healthy and balanced. And so it's just been a journey of doing that. And I went from managing companies or restaurants to owning them to then stepping out and then helping other people build their businesses and their dreams.
Cool. A couple of things popped up for me there. I guess um, so. You obviously started out, as you said, in your 20s as a coach, been doing it for a long
Uh-huh.
time. Was there any
Hmm.
point where you kind of like being a coach, being a coach, being a coach, and then you're like it suddenly exploded and like so many more people know about what you're doing? Like obviously now, 24 years later, you've just been given this award of top coach
Yeah.
2023. Like it's a pretty pretty good thing to be thing to be given.
Yeah.
um like did you just kind of see this thing, or was it just like just steady doing my thing, doing the thing I love,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden it kind of took off to somewhere you'd never imagined? Or have you always
I was
planned for
actually,
it to?
it's been a stoking of the fire throughout my whole career.
Mm,
Again, because of a great upbringing, my parents are very supportive and gave me a voice. They gave me the courage to try things and not be afraid to fail. I always say fail forward, because the
mm,
thing is, you're either going to achieve what you want or you're going to learn where you need to grow. And so I wasn't really afraid of failing. And so I would go
mm,
for it. Like, everything I'd work at companies and stuff, I'd just go for it, push, learn, obviously with integrity, always with integrity, but not fearing failure. And so I was able to stack opportunities and successes and experience on top of each other. And so when I started doing this, I was a top salesperson at the companies I worked with, the mortgage companies, insurance companies, and different things I'd done. So I got a lot of experience of confidence and learning how to be good. And then I became a manager of places quickly. And then I love leading teams. And from leading teams, really what kind of made a shift in where I went, like where I kind of did a quantum leap in my experience, was doing well as an individual selling, then becoming a manager and managing people and seeing them grow and doing very well. But then I would leave, and like if I left a company, like I was running a mortgage company and training teams, and I go to a new company, all of a sudden that team would drop.
mm,
I was like, wait a minute. I was like, I don't like that. I worked with them and they were doing well, and I'm gone. I want them to keep doing well. I don't want them to need me. What's going on? And so I started researching. I actually researched on Google, how do I duplicate myself? And I didn't even know what to look for at that point in time. And what came up in the search was modeling excellence NLP, neuro linguistic programming. And I was like, what's this? And so I went and I looked up a training. I went and did the training, became certified. I'm now a master coach of NLP.
Yep.
But my mentor, Tad James, one of the top trainers ever in the world for doing NLP, had a training here in Las Vegas. And I came to this 7-day practitioner with the mindset of, I'm going to become a better sales trainer. Like, I will now be able to have systems to do standard operating procedures, SOPs. I will have a routine. I didn't know how to take what I knew here and make it into repeatable, duplicatable systems that I could hand to somebody and say, here are the steps, strategies. I could influence them, be there, but when I left, I didn't know how to leave them something with clear steps. So NLP started teaching me that, and I thought, oh, I'm going to get this great sales training. And 2 or 3 days into the training, we learned also hypnotherapy and timeline therapy, which he created. And I was like, this is bigger than this. This has shifted my thinking. And I'm a very spiritual person, and a lot of things were esoteric and was talking about the power of belief and power of positive thinking. And it wasn't about the product. It was about you growing as a person. And I started to go, oh, wow, this is different. I'm approaching this differently now. Now I understand that I have this power inside me that I never knew that I had. And it's not about sales training. It's about helping people live at a higher level, how to break through the limitations of their mind, the fears, and amplify. And that's what really shifted. And then from there, I started to utilize that thinking, grow that thinking. I wrote my book. I started building my business because of that training. Within 7 days, I wrote a book and built my whole business. It came out and just went on fire. And it unlocked my mind, the potential in a new way. And I started going out with passion and teaching other people this thing that I had found that was so inspirational to me.
Wow. So do you find now that you have do you have a team of coaches that work with you? Because obviously the bigger your business gets, the more you need to duplicate yourself, right? My husband and I have had a small business ourselves, and the difficult thing is when you're not there, as you said, the standard drops.
Yeah.
So do you have systems that you use with the team that you have now, so that they kind of, it's like
so I have a team. It's still me, but what I do is I have a team. I have a team of assistants that help me with running the operations, managing my social media, helping me promote for events. And then I also have a team I call the luminaries, beings of light that provide light to others, that work with me on my events and my retreats. And they're all specialized in certain things, from being facilitators that do yoga facilitators, music facilitators, sound bath facilitators. I've got people that are event marketing specialists, event coordinators, project managers. So I have teams of people that work on the projects based on what it is. And so, and then I have other people that I go to who are also specialized in things like psychedelic therapy for people that are going through PTSD or trauma, that are vets that are dealing stuff with so I have people specialized in a lot of areas, and depending on what project I'm doing or where it's at, I bring them in to work on the project, or I lean upon them to help me with what's going on. So yes, the answer is yes, but it's in a very flexible and organic way.
Yeah.
I want everyone to own their own passion, their own purpose, and be growing as their own person, fostering their success. And then we cohesively work together as a collective to help each other grow with all the same impact, all the same idea of the impacting others.
Yeah, great. I want to go back to so I've read in some of your social posts and watched a couple of videos. I think I have to say to anyone listening, your Instagram page, do you call it a page? Feed? Page.
Profile, feed page.
I would say, like, that's one place I would go. You know how normally you just kind of switch on Instagram and you scroll through and whatever shows up, and so you could be missing something really good. But your account is somewhere where I would deliberately go, because the quality and the content is great. It's really engaging, and I really have enjoyed being there. So thank you.
And anyone else. Thank you. I just want to make sure that people go there and there's value, right?
Exactly.
I want there to be
it's not just another.
Yes. Thank you.
No worries. But let's talk about action, because I know that you've said failing forward, and about taking action. And, this is a big challenge for a lot of people. and having goals and okay, so what I want to talk about is having goals and taking action versus being present.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So, yeah. So I would say about that is a couple things, and it's great. I've learned in the past 10 years and in the past 5 years, it's really evolved this thing I call surrender, the power of surrendering.
Yeah, okay.
And process, people think of surrender as inactivity, but it's not, it's faith. And so let me back up and say this. So, I have my
Okay.
division, my
Yeah.
company. Yeah, my division, my company is called Action Mastery.
Mm.
I've been working one-to-one for a long time. I go and consult in companies, but there's a lot of one-to-one. And I decided with my one-on-one executive clients or just any clients, I can only take on 12 to 15 in a month. There's only one of me and there's only so much time I can spend. So I want to make a greater positive impact. I want to be able to impact more people and be able to have more people learning the modalities and sharing the things that I know that can help them improve their lives or their careers and relationships. So I was like, I have to do this in an event format.
Yeah.
So I went out and researched. I was like, what's the biggest problem most people have? Taking the first step. So taking action. Plus, I love a lot of like ancient words and texts and things like that. And so I went back and was looking for the methodology and the symbology behind it. And in Sanskrit, the word karma means action. So action mastery is actually karma mastery, which is brilliant. But I wanted to name it something that resonated with the average person, right? Because not everybody's going to karma mastery. People are like, oh, that's not for me, or maybe I'm not there.
It's a bit weird.
Action mastery.
Yeah.
And in action mastery, it was like, I need to learn how to master taking action, right? So I developed this division. So like you said, setting goals and taking actions is the biggest challenge that most people have because there's a fear of failure, lack of clarity, or they're not inspired by the path because they're not really following something that's a passionate pursuit. They're doing it out of fear. I need to get a job. I have to do this thing. I don't know what to do. So I'm going to copy what somebody else did. Or I'm going to buy this business in a box and hope it works. And those things can work to a level, but you're not going to be fulfilled because it's not your journey. And you're not doing it because you're inspired by it. You're doing it because you feel that you have to and you don't have another option, right? So I help people discover their passion where they tune in and it's undeniable. It's objective, not emotional. It is objective and clear that these are the things, these are the top 5 passions. They're what make me who I am. They're foundational to the way I think and perceive the world and operate. With those, we use them as the lens to choose your goals, your projects, your relationships, your decisions. And when you do that, you start building momentum and it's clear to see that path. But what you have to do is you get super clear on the vision. You know where you want to go. You develop a plan of action to take, what you're going to do and execute. But then what you have to do is you have to be present and surrender. Because too many people get caught up all the time in seeing the vision, being in the vision. I want to be there. I'm not there yet. When I get there, and you're stuck out here in the future and you're never in the moment. Or you're constantly in the past fretting and worrying about things you've done. And like, did I make a mistake? Why did I do this? I'm still guilty. I'm resentment. And you're never living in the moment. If you're going to show up and be the best version of yourself on a journey, you have to be here now. You can't be out there. You can't be back there because then you're never the best. Like if my mind right now is thinking about what I got to do in 2 hours, Nadine, I'm not here with you. I'm not giving you the best. I'm not being present for you. So you have to have a vision of where you're going, have a clear, concise plan. The more specific, the better, because specificity is what removes fear and anxiety. Think about it. Whenever you're afraid, whenever you're anxious, did I do it right? Is it coming up? Am I prepared? It's fear and anxiety. When you let go of that, you become specific. This is what I need to do. I've planned. I'm clear. So you make a clear plan, and then you just have to have faith. You surrender that your plan is the right plan. And not only is surrender saying that I surrender to the plan, but I surrender the fact that whatever happens in this process is what's supposed to happen. It's divine, because otherwise you're telling yourself you know everything and you know how it's supposed to be, and that's the expectation. But whatever shows up is going to show you where you need to grow, where you need to learn, the tool you need to sharpen in your belt, or the thing you need to build or go after that's maybe something you didn't realize could be an opportunity. There's another doorway that's better than what you had planned.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think also you can support someone to have that vision, get that clarity, work towards that end result. And it may be a feeling that that helps to connect them to that end result. Like, how will I feel? Yes. What will it be like? And they might go on that journey, which is kind of like the karma. Or is that the dharma? The dharma's kind of
well, the dharma is the practice. The practice, and the karma, yes, the energy. Yeah, exactly.
And it's kind of like you have that focus of that feeling of what it's going to be like when you get there, and you might go on a completely different journey to get there, and it might not be
Exactly.
until you get there, and that place there is actually not the place that you thought it was going to be, but the feeling is. So you kind of
Yes.
need to surrender to that, right?
I'll tell you,
But it's
Nadine, that
not
little secret.
necessarily going to look exactly the same as
Exactly.
perhaps
The
you
little secret
envisaged.
is it never is. It's never
Mm,
the plan you made. You have to make a plan because you have to do the work to
yeah,
earn being there.
yeah.
But it's never. Expectations are the greatest source of disappointment. You got to let go. It's
Mm,
never ever going to turn out the way you thought. But if you surrender and you trust and have faith, it turns out being better.
right.
It's when you don't, because most people, what they do is they make a plan, and the minute one of the steps doesn't work the way they want, they go, "Oh, I'm a failure. The plan isn't
Mm,
right. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to change my plan. I'm jumping ship." And it's like, no, no,
mm,
no, no. It's showing you right now there's a place to stretch. There's something to learn. There's something to improve upon. This is an opportunity for growth, and that's gold. You just
yeah.
grow and you grow. And that's why I got over fear so young. I
Mm,
realized that every fear and every mistake I made, I step up and take on the challenge and I learn. I'm going to learn this and get better at it. I made a mistake. Awesome. I just learned something. Made a mistake. Awesome. I learned again. But if you shy away from the failures and the problems, the obstacles, you never grow. It's
mm,
just like go to the gym and never want to break a sweat. Like, how
yeah,
fit are you going to be?
yeah.
Right? And so that's what we're doing is life. We're running away from the obstacles that make us, that shape us into the person that we can be brilliantly.
Mm. I read a quote the other day and it said, "Fear is safety." And I
Mm,
thought, yeah, that totally makes sense. And, in some in some regard, it's important to be frightened to stay
yep.
safe. But that's
Yep.
kind of like our prehistoric brain, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and
Reptilian
many
slipping in.
many of the things that we're fearful of that keep us safe basically keep us from not growing and evolving.
Exactly,
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
Mm. Um, Business and spirituality. Now,
Yes.
you said that you do a lot of business coaching,
Uh-huh.
but you're obviously, a spiritual person, as you said, and that's a big part of what you do.
Yep.
How is, let me have a look. Is that a contradiction for a lot of people? Do they go, "Oh, I don't know if I want to work with him,"
It's
or
a great
is it?
question. Yeah, you know what? Here's the good thing. It's not a contradiction, as in people don't come and have a resistance, but it's how
Mm,
I've positioned.
mm,
It was more of a contradiction and a challenge that I had to go through a growth process to learn how to present that and how to make it, how to embody that and make that authentic to myself. I've always been spiritual and
mm,
faithful, but going back maybe 10 years ago or more, I felt like I had to keep, you can't bring that into business coaching. You
sure.
don't talk about that with business people. And the thing is, we do with my coaching, we deal with everything,
Mm,
business, relationship, health and fitness, all of it. It's a whole life approach. Otherwise you have landmines that you don't know are coming up, right? But I was like, well, that's not a part of the conversation. And people are sticky. People don't want to talk about politics or religion. So let's keep that outside there. But over the past 10 years, I've had a lot of spiritual growth in myself through the practice of meditation and yoga and different experiences, losing people in my life and things that
mm,
have happened where I've grown closer to God and had more of a calling to things. I started to realize for me to have integrity, if I want to be me, I need to show up as the best version of me and I want to be authentic to me. I can't hide these part of myself. I can't push them away because then I'm trying to tell somebody to be authentically themselves when I'm not doing it. But the
sure.
thing was, I do know that through a lot of my training, I did an amazing training with NLP that was a values training, which helps you understand where someone's coming to you from, like how they're perceiving the world and their problems, because you can't just go up and tell everybody everything right away because they're not ready to receive it. They don't understand the information yet. So you can actually cause someone to not be open to information. So what I say is I always present the right doorway for someone to walk through. And so depending on where they're coming from, we'll approach this when it's the right time, and I open those doorways for them so that they can have a journey themselves, like a kid. You don't want to do the homework for the kid; they don't learn. You want to challenge them to see where they're making mistakes, so they have the neural pathways to build the muscles to solve the problems. And so similar thing this way. So I don't go out and say, "Hey, I'm a spiritual coach and we're doing this thing." People come into me and I'll say, "What would make this process together a success?
Mm,
What would make this fulfilling and successful to you?" And most of the time, my clients say, I want to have X amount more money in the bank. I want to scale my company this. I want to buy this car. It's like it's very like external, like we talked about
Mm,
earlier. I'm like, okay, great. I don't tell them that's wrong. I go,
mm,
great. Let's start working together. And we start working together. I help them define their passion. We start tapping into their purpose. How they fulfill by that? What's the legacy they're leaving? What's the impact they're making? And within 4 to 6 weeks, they tell me, they go, Brett, it's not about the money. I just realized the reason, and I'm talking, my clients, I have clients are making $20 million a year, and they're like, I'm so unhappy. I have everything in the world I could ever want. I just made another 5 million, and I'm more unhappy than I was. And they start to realize it's because I'm so external. I'm seeking all these things to make me happy, and it's not. And they start realizing it's about a higher calling. It's
mm,
about who am I? What do I
mm,
stand for? Where am
mm,
I out of integrity? Who holds me accountable when I got the door closed and it's me home at night? When I lie to everybody out, wear a mask in public, but I come home and know that I'm lying to me. And so that's the spirituality. I tell people, look, I'm not here to try to push religion or faith or anything on anybody, but I'm like, what you need to do is you need to get comfortable with yourself. So you can sit in silence with yourself and say, I like me, or I'm comfortable enough at looking at myself and saying, where do I need to grow? And then you don't lie to yourself and you say something or someone is holding me accountable to be better. And that accountability is making me a better person. It gives me comfort, it gives me support, and it gives me guidance. And you listen to that small voice, right? And you understand also with spirituality that it's about we're all connected, we're all
mm,
unified, we're all love. It's about empathy, it's about kindness, it's about looking at your common neighbor or person saying, I want the best for you. And I've been there where you are, and I can see that journey and either be a part of it or I can step out of it and not be a catalyst of pain. And so that's how I've shifted spirituality in my work. And it's amazing. We just did a retreat in Tulum, and most of the people, everybody there was a high-performing executive, worked with me for, year to years, had no connection. Most of them either had zero connection with faith or had an aversion to it because of an experience in the past where they said, I am not into it. I don't want that. I don't like that. And now it's the polar opposite. Within 7 days, they're like connected to God, have reconnected their spirituality, loving each other, kind to each other. I talked to almost every one of them every day, but it
mm.
was allowing people a journey of their own, not putting them into a box and saying, this is what faith needs to be in your spirituality, just saying what it shouldn't be is these things.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it kind of for many people, especially if they're, successful business people, um, there's an element where it feels kind of vulnerable, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of times people feel vulnerable. They feel ashamed. They feel embarrassed. They feel that
It's a
they're
weakness.
wrong, guilt, a lot of guilt, right? I think a
Right.
lot of
Okay.
times. And
Yeah.
so it's like you have to remove that because again, they're just emotions. I tell everybody, emotions are a signal. Emotions
Mm,
are a God-given gift that help guide you through your life.
mm,
They say, and this is a scientific, they say that your positive processing of emotion should take 15 to 20 minutes, no matter what emotion it is. And so when you're angry for days on end or
mm,
sad for days on end, what's happening is your body has tried to give you a signal that you're ignoring. And it's when you ignore it and you start to repress it, it starts to turn into dis-ease. It's your body at unrest and it starts happening. It makes you tired. It starts to mess with your mind because your body is trying to tell you something you're not listening to. And then you're going to have to repeat the pattern. And then that pattern starts to beat you down. And so when you start to recognize that it's okay to feel sad, it's okay to feel angry, just take the lesson and grow from it, right? And then all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I'm a better version of myself. And now that thing is something that I can either not repeat or help someone else I care about to recognize and they can have growth.
mm. And that leads us perfectly into
Mm.
emotional intelligence.
Ah,
Um, so, do you want to give us a quick outline on what emotional intelligence is? I mean, it kind of speaks for itself, but yeah, I'm interested to hear about how that kind of
yeah.
all connects with
That
the
is a
work
great
that you do.
segue. Great segue. And I think most people don't really know. I think that they may have an idea, but to me, emotional intelligence, what it is it's the practice and understanding of how your emotions help guide you to be a healthy being. And so there is the practice, which is, like I said, understanding emotions, learning how to manage your emotions. And by
Mm,
manage, that is a healthy understanding of why am I experiencing this emotion. I give people this practice. It's very simple called take five and come back better. Something you can do individually on your own, or you can do if you're with a partner, if you're with a business, any other person you're with, where you recognize you're not being the version of yourself you want to be. You're in a negative mindset, you're behaving in a way that's unbecoming or something that may cause you collateral damage. And so when you have that self-detection, you go, I'm yelling, my partner and I are screaming at each other. I don't want to be this version. This is not a good version of me. And we're not getting anywhere. You say, hey, I'm really sorry. I'm not being my best self right now. I'm going to take 5 and I'm going to come back better. And you leave the environment because you have to get out of the energy. You go someplace, you sit for 2-3 minutes and you just do a breath technique and you meditate. And what you're doing is you're processing the emotion in a healthy way. You're not fighting it. You're allowing it to process through like the healthy way it should. All of a sudden the anger calms down and you feel just present. And you say, okay, I feel it's processed through. I'm no longer feeling anger or frustration or sadness. How is this helping me? You ask yourself 2 questions. How is this helping me? And what am I supposed to learn from this experience? And when you do that, that's a practice of emotional intelligence because you've processed in a healthy way the way it should work. And you've moved from the emotional part of your mind and the emotional neural pathways and the chemicals that go along with that, adrenaline, cortisol. You've calmed it down, shut them off, and you move to the objective part of your mind that gets strategic. And it goes, now I'm going to solve a problem. Because you have to turn on a different system to solve a problem than when you're emotional. You're not solving problems when you're emotional, you're creating them. But you move over and go, how is this helping me? And you think through like, I need to be more understanding. I need to be a better listener. I need to be patient. And whatever you get in that experience is now the practice you take on to better yourself. So I think that is one part. That's the practice. The other emotional intelligence is empathizing with other people. So you recognize when they're going through the same process, and rather than judging or projecting or conflicting something onto them, you say, they're going through an experience. I'm going to let you have time to process this. And you respect that they're going through a journey of growth and you support that growth. So even like when somebody does road rage and drives by me crazy, I don't get mad at somebody. I say a prayer for them. I go, oh man, when have you ever gotten behind the wheel and driven 80 miles an hour in a 45 around somebody whipping and almost killing people and been like, this is a great day? Like that person's on the way to or away from something that they don't want to be doing. So God bless them. I wish them the best. Hopefully they're safe. Hopefully they process through that and they learn the lesson and let that go and don't hurt themselves or others. So the practice of understanding your emotions and utilizing them to grow, and the empathy of helping other people to do so and supporting that journey.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, so many things. And I guess it's there are so many emotions as well, and really tapping into what they are, because emotional intelligence isn't holding back on having the feelings, right?
No, that's a lack
like
of.
you're allowed to have the feeling and react, I guess, but respond by going, why did I do that? How did it make me, like literally, how did it make me feel? And there's not, and it's like we think about emotional intelligence, I guess, or emotions as maybe anger or sadness, but but like we can observe ourselves when we shut off, or when we over give, right? They're all kind of emotion things that we can kind of go, why do I feel the need to overgive,
love
or
bombing,
overshare?
depression, anxiety. There's so many different colors that happen to them, and they're all guides. They're all guides of showing you something. It's like I had a conversation with somebody recently about love bombing. A lot of people don't understand that, and it can happen for many different reasons, right? Sometimes we've been lonely for so long and we find someone, so all of a sudden we just pour love onto them. And so it's like, it seems like it's positive. I'm giving so much love to this person, so much attention. But what it is it's a fear of being alone. I've been hurt. And so if I keep loving, I'm keeping a hold of you because it's a codependency. It's a fear of being alone. It's a fear of learning to love myself again and knowing I can be vulnerable and I'm safe. Right. And so and then sometimes we're numb because we've emotionally unavailable because we've shut it down because of depression and fear and hurt. And so there's so many layers. But the thing is, again, if you just ask yourself, and it's a journey, because when you're in an emotional thinking state, until that emotion is processed, you're not going to have clarity on what you need to do. So sometimes, depending on how powerful the emotion is, it takes time to clear it. You may have to come back to it and do this process, like the take 5, several times and several times. This is why meditation and breath work are so powerful, because they rapidly help you process the emotion. You can sit and think through it, but if you're in an emotional thinking mind, what you're thinking is not going to be the best decisions. I would say emotions do not dictate, they do not dictate reality, they dictate your personal reality. And so you may think, oh, I'm wrong, I'm messed up. It's like, no, 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 just keep processing. Just sit with it. Just sit with it until you have a clear message that says, oh, I had a breakthrough.
Mm,
I need to do this. I need to stop doing this. And you'll know, because the thing is, the
mm,
emotion will be gone. Usually when it
mm,
happens, you feel a sense of exhilaration or a sense of sadness, like you'll have a release because you let go of this thing that's been this weight on you for so long. But yeah,
yeah.
but they can show up in so many brilliant and complex ways.
Yeah, and I guess there's it's also this like a practice of becoming more emotionally intelligent isn't about being unemotional either, is it?
No,
It's like
no.
embracing that experience, but managing it so that
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily negatively impact anyone.
I consider myself an emotionally intelligent person. I work on that all the time,
Mm,
but I'm an extremely emotional person. I cry a lot. I go through a lot of things. I share my experiences. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. But the thing is that I've practiced and disciplined myself so that when something happens, I have a moment's self-awareness where I'm able to step back and observe myself, be a
mm,
witness, not judge it, but witness to go, is this how I want to behave? Or oh, okay, I'm angry. Take a moment, figure out why you're upset. Again, it's a signal, right? It's like driving your car and never wanting to have a traffic light or a stop sign or any kind of navigation. It's like it's helping you navigate, like, ooh, that frustrated me. That's okay. Why am I frustrated? Let me recognize. I'll recognize the physical things that happen, like, oh, wow, somebody really said that. And my temperature spiked a couple degrees and my mind started shifting into thoughts of revenge, right? Or, oh, I clenched my fists or my jaws
yeah.
got tight. You think, okay, what was that for?
Mm,
Strong signal. Okay. And then you learn and move. But when you
mm,
do that, it's beautiful. You're not only communicating with yourself, but you're understanding the other person at a deeper level. That's when people say somebody's an empath, right? You
mm,
start picking up their energy, like, oh, they're conveying this signal because 93% of our communication is nonverbal. So when you're repressing the emotions, you're missing all those signals that are being sent back and forth. You just have to protect yourself. And that's getting into a place where you can step back and have a moment to
mm.
not react, right? People say like don't just react instantly.
Yeah, sure. So, okay, how can emotional intelligence affect and improve workplace dynamics? Because you're going in
Oh,
and working as a business coach.
yeah. I'm gonna open my
Is
window a
this
second.
some?
It's gotten dark in my area. Give us a little
Okay.
more light. You can still see me. Like having like storm coming in. So all of a sudden out of
Oh,
nowhere,
okay.
it's like, yeah.
So emotional intelligence and the workplace, how does it affect dynamics, and how long does this kind of well, it's got to be a massive transition, right? Because I
Oh
feel
yeah.
like for 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 like on reflecting on life, health, and the universe as we do,
Hmm. Hmm.
we've just pulled our kids out of school. We've started homeschooling 12 months ago,
Okay.
and one of the things that I really observed and now reflect upon is like that kind of dog eat dog behavior that happens in schools, in the schoolyard, in the
Mhm.
classroom, and how that gradually over
Mhm.
like basically transitions into adulthood and gets taken into the workplace. There's
Yeah.
bullying, there's like groups, there's getting annoyed with people, like all of that
Yeah.
stuff just like becomes part of our everyday lives. So unpacking that in the workplace.
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing is, like I say, my biggest thing, I repeat this word because I really think first of all, it's something I'm so passionate about, but I think it's so important because we get caught up in ourselves.
Mm,
And sometimes we forget, like you said, when we're present, it's like, what's the purpose of why we're here in this situation, what we're doing, either in the relationship or our work. And so
mm,
when we become overly emotional in work, we forget why we're there. And you're there to either provide a service or a job or something. So if you got somebody that's like selling insurance or maybe it's a hospital and somebody's helping somebody, you're caught up in your emotional baggage and you're not there present doing what you're supposed to do. So the service, the impact you're making gets neglected and you start to create a company culture where there's an air of an
mm,
anger or frustration or a lack of trust. And so it really does spread quickly. I mean, energy is palatable. So if you're in a place, you're going to feel it. And so like people start to have there's like the negative murmur and chatter going on all the time, or people distrust, or they're resentful or vengeful when like the manager asks people to do things and so they just don't do it. They want to just go against what they say. So emotional intelligence is so important. Plus, most people identify themselves with their work, unfortunately.
Mm,
And the thing is, it's not unfortunate if you are passionate about your work and it's a calling, but I believe most people work a job where they don't want to identify. It's not my passion. I'm here. I have to have this job. It's not my dream job. I don't even want to be doing this thing. And then they identify with it, and then it becomes toxic. So you identify yourself as toxic. So you're spending most of your time in a place that's toxic, and therefore it starts to bleed into all of you, mind, body, and spirit. So it's so important to have emotional intelligence. Also, it's the healthiest, quickest way to work through problems to where we can be solution oriented and constantly be working on growth and impact and opportunity versus managing emotions. Like I say that most people, I love to just use like simple metaphors because I think it makes it easy for people to remember things and to use them when they need. But I think that typically we spend most of our time in pain management. Most people are in some level of pain management.
mm,
Like, what do you want out of this month? Like, what's your goal? Oh, just to be able to pay my bills, pain
mm,
management, bring that pain down. Just for my wife and I to get along, bring that pain down, to have a day where I just don't feel like this, where I can get
mm,
out of bed, just trying to lower that pain scale rather than being inspired or excited or, any of those positive emotions. And so the workplace can really be an incubator of that stress and become toxic. And so if we learn how to communicate and respect each other, emotional intelligence, clear goals, and impact, you really radically change the experience of what you're doing. And that's where companies scale and grow incredibly. And every person gets on board with it because they feel that they have a purpose there and they're heard, they're valued rather than just being another person in the nightmare.
yeah. Wow. Um, do you feel like this is the way forward for people at work?
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I consult a company or coach, I've managed and owned companies, and I've helped so many companies with thousands of employees. 7,000 employees, 5,000 employees. And it's easy for somebody to become a number, and for people to manage. I got a team of 20 people, and there's 50 teams here, and like hundreds of people, and it's like everybody just shows up, and you're a number, and then it becomes just about the bottom line. Did we
Yeah.
do good or bad this week or this month? That's a terrible way to manage and lead because you're just literally like heading towards a downfall. So what I manage everybody to do is every single person, every manager needs to work with every person. They need to have a clear understanding of what is your purpose for being here.
Mm,
I'm here because I have a sick mother and I'm making money to pay her medical bills. I'm $10,000 away from affording what I need to do to get her the help she needs. Because now I see the person as individual.
yeah.
Now when I speak to them and I say, hey, you're not having a good month. Let's sit down. How can I help you? Look, you're $6,000 away from getting the help of your mom. Let's make this happen. Now it ties intention to it. It shifts the way you approach the work. It's not about selling that policy or that product or that service. It's how can I help you be better at your job? What's happening? I know you have stress in your life, but I know where you want to go and I want to help you bridge that gap. Let's get you over here to where you're performing at your peak or doing better so that you can feel hope and see momentum towards your goals, not just, hey guys, we need more sales.
Mm,
And so the more you can be about the person one-on-one, everybody starts to believe in the company. And then people show up and they want to be there. People care
yeah.
about me, my job. I want to be there. People hear me. They know what I am. I have a voice. They care. They're supporting me in the journey. And this thing is providing me the resource I need to accomplish the things that I'm working toward, the goals, the dreams, or the solving of the problems.
Yeah, great. And I think it- okay, for someone listening who works in a big organization or any kind of
Mm-hmm.
organization that may not have this kind of practice,
Mm-hmm.
it could be easy to go, well, it's not my responsibility. Like my boss doesn't do that for me.
Yeah.
And, so what are we supposed to do? But it can
Mm-hmm.
actually start with the individual, right?
Yes,
Because
exactly.
we can have an impact regardless of where we work in an organization when we start to
Mm-hmm.
begin to pay more attention to our own
Mm-hmm.
emotional intelligence. Why am I thinking and feeling these things? Why do I want to be here today?
Right.
Or
Accountability
not?
starts with yourself, right?
Yeah,
Accountability starts
yeah,
right here.
that can
Yeah.
knock on to the person that you work with, and
Yeah.
so on and so on. So yeah, we can all be quite responsible for for our own experience, right?
Absolutely.
Um, we're getting pretty close to our hour. I've got a couple more things that I'd love to talk to you about. Breath work.
Ah,
I don't know
yes.
if that's a small subject,
Yeah, right.
but I'd love to talk to you about that. And I've got one more sort of question that's pretty deep. Um,
Yeah,
and obviously, if there's anything that you would like to talk about before we finish up. But I've just signed up for your online breathwork journey, which I'm
oh,
kind of
excellent.
looking forward to. I've done a little bit of
Excellent.
breath work. I've done some sort of more sort of functional breathing stuff. I've done a
Mhm.
little bit of Wim Hof, like just experimented with it. And I went on a retreat where I did just one day retreat, and they did a breathwork session, which was
Nice.
um, yeah, pretty intense, but kind of cool.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, I know that there's a lot of benefit to it.
Oh, yeah.
Um, you're incorporating this into your work. What do
Mm.
you? I mean, Can I read a bit of the? I wrote down
Yeah, love for you
the
too.
part of what you did. I write it here? Yeah. So this is from one of your posts on Instagram. Imagine
Great.
waking up tomorrow and realizing the problems you've been dealing with today gone. Imagine waking up tomorrow feeling completely different, feeling inspired, energized, and most importantly, clear. There was a little bit after that, and then that I didn't write down. And you then say, that's what breath work can do for you.
Hmm.
That's a pretty big promise. I'm in.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. Here's the thing, I'm so glad you brought this up. So, number one, I have a lot of integrity. I don't throw words around
No.
unless it's really going to be something. So, if I say something's transformational, I mean it. And it was for myself. So, I'm not somebody that went and learned this thing and is practicing other people. I went through transformation myself. But a couple things are so important to understand about breath work. Number one, what's so powerful is we hold the key to healing and using this beautiful modality ourselves. So it's within you. When I do this, I'm guiding you and reminding you, showing you techniques of what you can do on your own that you have within you. So it's not a me doing it to you thing. It's a me guiding you to remember what you can do and showing you the practice of it. But as a society, what we don't realize is number one is we breathe incorrectly and we breathe in an unhealthy way. A healthy breather is breathing in 6 to 8 times a minute. So a breath in would be an inhale and exhale. So 6 to 8 of those a minute. As a global society, we do 20 to 30 times a minute. So what that means, because people are like, what's that mean? Well, what's a panic attack?
Mm.
Panic attack is overbreathing. You're like hyperventilating. And so any level of breathing more than the 6 to 8 times a minute starts to tip that scale into that anxious panic. And so anytime you start to overbreathe, what happens is it tells your mind there's an emergency, something urgent is going on. It causes all the stress receptors to turn on. So you go into fight or flight at different levels, but you go into fight or flight. So adrenaline and cortisol start to pump through your brain and your body and your veins. And what that does is that starts sending signals to your body that something's wrong. So you start seeing the world through a lens of something's wrong, there's anxiety, there's fear, there's problems happening. So you're seeing and making decisions in a slight panic mode. That's why most people are jittery and anxious all the time. In addition, adrenaline and cortisol are not good to have in your body unless you're utilizing them. If I'm going into a fight, if I'm running out of a situation that's dangerous, that's good. But you shouldn't have it going to work, waking up in the morning, sitting with your partner, being at the gym, driving in the car. It's so unhealthy. And as a society, it's in our body all the time. And it's killing us. It ages you and it kills you. So anything you can do, first of all, to decrease that and to be able to understand how to reset it, breathwork that I do and the techniques we learn for the journeys and things reset that system. So it
Okay.
turns off that fight or flight. And then what happens is through the breathwork journey, you clear out the toxins, you're getting rid of the adrenaline and the cortisol, you flush it out. So it's a reset. So that's a huge benefit. The other thing is, once you're doing this as well, you're kicking in systems in your body. You're resetting a lot of systems, your autonomic systems that run the functions in your body. You're resetting the way your mind is focusing. And depending on how deep you go in the journey, you can actually have a release of DMT from your pineal gland, which is the great thing about that is that, this only happens when you're born and when you die. but it is actually an experience that creates a sense of euphoria in you, where what you do is you actually release, and your body has this great sense of euphoric opening. You have creative visions. You have, it's just healing. You have a vision of the things you want to do. You become creative. You'll see people in your family that have passed and maybe release the things like, I've been holding back wanting to say this to this person that's gone and feeling this guilt inside myself. But the adrenaline and the cortisol keeps it tied. It's like a fear molecule. It's like, you let it go and you're like, oh, now I feel okay to say goodbye to this person. Or I've had this addiction, this block I've had going on, and now I realize I gotta let it go. It gives you a moment of clarity. And so it's incredible and powerful how quick it happens. So many things that people have gone through, like abuse, trauma, emotional things, losing someone, addictions, they really set into you. They become a part of your DNA, and they're not easy to work through, especially if you're doing it just with your mindset. It's going to take a lot of time to first to come over the emotions, figure out what it is, break through it, and then start to put the time in to make the shifts in your life. It can be a process. I've been doing it a long time with people. When you do breath work, you get to shortcut, boom, getting rid of the traumatic part, getting to where you're clear. Like, holy cow, I've not been able to think straight. I've been so sad. I had a client that I worked with, and her mom had died 3 or 4 years ago. She'd never been able to cry. She'd been repressed, hadn't cried in 4 years.
Wow.
Did the breath work, bam, cried, released, and started clearing the problem. She's like, I've been trying to do this for years. So you get on the other side of the problem, you get to start solving it. Because sometimes people will say, I can't deal with this. I don't know how to deal with it. It's too overwhelming. I can't face this right now. And breath work helps you get to the point where all of that is gone. You've faced it and it's over in a 30 or 60-minute session, and then you're on to the work. So that's what's so powerful about it. And like I said, the other thing is the more you practice it, the healthier your body becomes physiologically and emotionally. And you also start moving into a creative phase. You're in control of it. So there's no crazy thing. It's not, plant medicine's amazing, but there's no thing where it takes you over and you're off someplace. You're breathing. So at any point in time that's intense, you just slow your breathing down, or you just stop. But you can continue to learn, I'd say, learning to ride your edge and empower yourself and going deeper into it. And you clear more things and clear more things and get more creativity. And I'll tell you, I've done this for hundreds and hundreds of people now. And it still blows my mind, because every person that does it, no matter where they're coming from, no matter how long we do the journey, they come out and go, oh my God, that's the most powerful thing I've ever experienced. And I'm like, really? We just did a 10-minute little thing. I just did a 10-minute thing just to give you a taste. But it's so great, and we can learn to do it on our own. So breath work is so powerful. And I do these free breath work journeys every Tuesday night to give people a taste, because I want them to understand. I don't want there to be any reason why they wouldn't try. And I'll tell you, if you do it, I just guarantee you're going to go through it. People are going to go, oh my God, like they just feel better, relaxed, healed, clear. And like you said, you wake up the next day and go, I'm not that person anymore. I'm just not that person anymore.
Wow. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't mind who I am, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. The freer version.
Upgrade.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So we'll pop a link for that that breathwork journey in the notes. So I've got kind of a big question for you to finish with. So you've talked about like having impact on your own life, and how to live your best life, and how you can impact others. And in a lot of different areas, actually, over the last month or so, since we've entered 2024, there's there's talk of big changes coming, and that part of the things that are happening is that people are becoming more aware of the possibilities, that we need to reconnect with each other more. What is your take on that? Is that something that you've kind of you're tapped into? And do you feel like that this is kind of like a big point in your own personal journey?
Absolutely. I feel called to be my best at this time. I've been on this journey, and it's funny. I like I said, I'm very spiritual person. God guides me all the time. I'm so grateful, and I really listen because I stay in the moment, right? That's the other thing too. When you're present, you pick up the signals, you hear the things, not only the emotional signals, but you hear that small, still voice in your gut and your mind and your heart telling you what to do. And so that's why I'm doing my events and my retreats right now. And I do these morning meditations. I do these breathwork journeys. I do the retreats that I do. It's to get the word out, to get the tools out there, because we are on a precipice of change right now.
Mm.
People are shifting. And, at the beginning of shift, any transformation is messy at first because you're moving from something and whether it's comfortable or uncomfortable, maybe the thing is not where you want to be, but you're shifting into something completely unknown. That's what we're going through right now. We're kind of in this place of like, oh, there's more potential, there's more opportunity. There are tools and resources, and there is more than myself. There's a difference. There is a collective. We are an energy, and we do share love in this experience together. And so I believe that we're in this emergence right now of a really powerful time in our lives where people are open and they're seeking this information and knowledge. And I want to be a catalyst to that. But I think that, it's a lot of things. We could go really deep on this. I could go deep for a long time, but we are, whether you're spiritual, biological, scientific, doesn't matter what your belief is or non-belief, we are energy. You go all the way down to everything inside of us, cells or energy. It's just energy, inertia, and motion. And so, like we talk about frequencies, sound bath frequencies, stuff like that. People think it's woo-woo, but it's not. It's the science of how something vibrates. Like a cancer cell inside your body is just vibrating at a different frequency than the other cells. That's what causes the cancer, right? There's a lot of studies right now and research that's going on where they're using sound frequency to eradicate and heal and help treatments of different illnesses and issues that are going on inside of our bodies. And so my point in saying this is all over the place, people are starting to practice things like meditation. They're starting to seek out therapy. They're reading books. They're doing events and things where they're increasing their consciousness. They're becoming open and being aware, becoming kinder, empathizing, looking for help. And we are a global community that's starting to use this global community to help each other. When you do, that's a different frequency, right? We're all vibing in a different place because we're saying, oh, I want to be here. The earth vibrates at 432 hertz, right? That's a healthy vibration. That's why we like the mountains and the ocean and things. But when you're busy and nervous and you're in a place where it's toxic, it's not in that energy. So you feel off, you feel sick. It's like the sounds and things that get you, and why they talk about like EMF and stuff like that, those different frequencies that go around. And so when you find that frequency, it's like why a lot of people love to go to the mountains. I love the mountains. Or why you go to the ocean. Like, I just feel so calm when I'm there. That's because it's a huge body of water that is vibing at that frequency. It's 432. It's like, it calms me when I'm there. So when you seek out things that are in that vibration, you're allowing your body to become connected with what is going on around you that's harmonious. It's creating harmony inward and outward. And so those things are happening where people are recognizing both, I want to go to those places, or when I do these things, I feel good. And the more people who do that, the more people, it's like if you go to a yoga studio, everybody's pretty chill. Everybody's in a good, positive, healthy state. Whereas like if you go to like a bar, there might be people fighting and loud and arguing in different environments going on. So we're all starting to be attracted to places where that harmony exists. And the more we can do that, the more we heal ourselves, and the more it begins to be infectious in a positive way to share with other people. And so I see that, and I'm really doing my best right now. My calling right now, I just talked about this with my team today, is to really be a pioneer in making sure that we really impact and reach out and make sure that people have access to and education about these opportunities.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. It's kind of amazing, isn't it? Like if you look at it from this perspective of like us, reconnecting, and I think that word awakening has been around for a long time in certain, connected to kind of Buddhism and meditation and that, those kinds of things. But it's almost like in the last 20 years, like since the internet, this global village, like we're much more interconnected, and that's part of our evolution. But it's almost like that's kind of, that connectedness has been a tool to lead us further together, closer together. Yeah.
That's why I call my retreat that I did last
really
year. My
interesting.
retreat was my retreat was called The Awakening. I did that on purpose.
Yeah.
It's not only the awakening it was my awakening of this journey. It was awakening for these people coming because where they were on their experience. It's also the first step into this awakening we're going into. The next retreat, when you leave that's kind of the beginning, right? That's people awakening the experience. The next one's the ascension, where you go, now if you've been awoken and you've done this, where do you go? You ascend. And how do you take that journey and start to impact other people and help them in their journey of awakening? Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
it's cool. Um, is there anything you'd like to close with? Where can we find you? How can people work
Yeah.
with you? Like, do you do some online stuff? So
Hmm.
doesn't matter where in the
Yeah.
world
I
you
mean,
are.
yeah, right now I'd say, the best thing is if you look at my name, you can find me
Mm,
anywhere. The best thing, my website is my name, brettbaughman.com. You can find everything there. I do free consultations. There's a lot of resources to check out there. I would say definitely go there and check out the heading on the menu, Action Mastery.
right.
That's where I do my events. And every event I do, you can find there in the drop down. On Monday mornings, I do these morning meditations where everybody shows up at 7 a.m. and we do a morning collective, starting your week out and setting intentions. Those are powerful. I also do these free breathwork journeys on Tuesdays. I talk about, I'd say anybody should show up and try that. I challenge you. I'll tell you, like, you'll go to it. I guarantee you're going to do it. And you're going to message me afterward and go, Brett, this is incredible. Everybody that does it ends up becoming part of my community and tribe and really joining this journey together. But something that I'm really proud of that I'm doing that's coming up is I'm doing this retreat called Breath House. And so
Okay.
what it is my big retreat we did in Tulum, which was incredible. It's not easy for everybody to take off for 7 days and go to the middle of the jungle to a resort, right? It's not everybody can do that all the time. It's more costly, and it's not easy to just take off and go internationally on a trip. So I wanted to make something that was more accessible and was, something that's just easy to be able to show up to. So I'm doing these 1-day retreats. We're going to start touring them all over the U.S. But right now we're doing the first one on Easter Sunday here, March 31st in Las Vegas. And it's a 1-day retreat, starts at noon, goes to 9 p.m. And it truly, again, all the modalities, you can read about it on the website on the landing page. Just go to Action Master and you'll say Breath House Retreat. But the thing is that we're really moving through the energy and healing your body, mind, body, and spirit. So it's called, we say raise your vibration, because it is, again, about the sound healing, about the things you need to do to really shift in all these areas. So we start out with group coaching, then we do some body work, then we do a sound bath, then we do breath work, and then we end with deep tribal house music and kind of have like a celebration of enjoying and eating together and having. But the thing is, everything is set to go through your body and work through what you need to do so that it's healing you internally and externally and inspiring you and guiding you and working your body in ways that we don't typically do. We don't realize that we have blocks and
Mm.
mental blocks and emotional blocks, and it goes through and loosens all those up. So at the end of the day, we're dancing and having a great time and you feel incredible because you've gone through this catharsis. But you can check it out online. We're running a bunch of specials right now. There's 2 ways you can join. There's a general admission where you show up the day of the event, or you can watch it online because we're doing it all around the world. So it'll be a live broadcast. So if you can't make it in person, you can still see it. But I also have a couple VIP tickets where you can join on March 1st. And for the whole month of March, I will be coaching you. We'll be group coaching together leading up to it. So you can
Okay.
actually spend 4 weeks with me coaching and then be at the event. So that's gonna be really powerful. But I'd love to
Cool.
share it. I'll give you the information. There's a promo going on until Valentine's Day. So definitely check it out. It's gonna be powerful.
Great. Thank you so much. That sounds amazing. I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to my breathwork journey experience, which
Yes.
I've booked in for
Yeah.
later this month. I'm really looking forward to that.
That's
Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a really insightful conversation. You're doing great work in the world, and just got to keep doing it, right? Keep taking
yeah.
action.
Thank you, Nadine. Real pleasure. Thank you so
No
much.
worries.
Wonderful conversation today. Bless you.
Thanks for coming. Bye for now.